Hey everyone, you're watching We Had That, and today I'm going to talk about the 1984 Wave 1 Superpowers figure Lex Luthor and his infamous war suit. With the release of their line of Star Wars toys in the 1970s, Kenner dominated the toy industry for the next several years. But in 1984, with the Star Wars trilogy complete, Kenner was looking for a new line to sell. The toy company Mego had held the license to produce toys of the DC characters throughout the 70s, but after going out of business in the early 80s, Kenner pitched their line of DC characters to the comic book giants. The result was 1984's Superpowers line of DC superhero action figures. The first wave was filled with the most famous DC characters like Superman, Batman and Robin, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Hawkman, Green Lantern, and The Flash, with only 4 villains released in that first wave. The 2 Batman villains, the Joker and the Penguin, and 2 Superman villains, Brainiac and Lex Luthor. I've always thought it was a shame they didn't include any of the Flash's enemies because he had quite an amazing rogues gallery. I don't remember if I first knew about these figures because of the comic book ads that seemed like they were in all of DC's comics back around 1984, or if I saw the commercial on TV first, but both the commercial and the comic book ad really caught my eye, and both featured Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor was an obvious choice for an action figure. Superman was arguably the biggest superhero at the time, and Lex Luthor was his main villain. Lex had been around since April of 1940 when he first appeared with red hair in Action Comics number 23. Since then, there have been many versions of the character, including the version that I was familiar with as a kid, the Lex Luthor who was leading the Legion of Doom in Challenge of the Super Friends, which first aired in 1978 and was the Saturday morning cartoon that I watched at the time. The Superpowers Lex Luthor had a very new look. The reason for that was in 1983, DC Comics offered their artists a bonus if they redesigned the look of a character for the line. Super comic book artist George Perez redesigned Lex Luthor's look, giving him the war suit in 1983 in Action Comics number 544. In this issue, Lex Luthor had just been beaten by Superman yet again, so he flies off to planet Lexor, where he finds out that his wife has just given birth to his son, Lex Jr. Lex is so excited about the news that he tells his wife he plans to give up his battle with Superman and stay on planet Lexor to raise his son. Back on Earth, one of Lex's robots, in an attempt to carry on Lex's battle with Superman, activates one of Luthor's satellites, which puts a force field around Metropolis. Superman destroys the satellite and heads off in search of Lex. Meanwhile, Lex has developed his war suit just in case he has to fight Superman again. When Superman arrives to do battle with Lex, the war suit makes them relatively evenly matched, but a blast from the war suit bounces off of Superman and starts a chain reaction that basically blows up planet Lexor, killing Lex's wife and son. This event fills Lex with even more hatred for Superman than he ever thought possible. A lot of Superman fans didn't like the war suit at the time because what they liked about Lex Luthor was that he fought Superman with his brains rather than brute force. But the war suit worked well in the context of the toy line, and since that action figure was a new generation of kids' introduction to Lex Luthor, the war suit has become part of the history of the Lex Luthor character. But it wasn't just the toy line. The war suit appeared in the comic books first, and also in the 1984 version of the Super Friends cartoon, this time called Super Friends, The Legendary Superpowers Show, which was a direct tie-in with the toy line, and therefore had the version of the characters that matched the toys. According to the biography card on the back of Lex Luthor's Superpowers figure packaging, the war suit was designed by an ancient super scientific alien civilization and modified with Luthor's own genius. What the bio card doesn't mention is that the suit can fire Kryptonite energy beams and that the armor is powered by a Kryptonite core. Over the years, Lex has used the suit not just to shoot green Kryptonite blasts, but also red, blue, and gold Kryptonite as well, with each color Kryptonite having a different effect on the Man of Steel. In addition to the bio cards that came with the action figure packaging, each figure in the first 2 waves was also packaged with a mini comic book so that kids could get an even better idea of the character for each action figure. In Lex Luthor's comic book, he kidnaps the President of the United States, but fortunately Wonder Woman is there to rescue him. Wait, Wonder Woman? Not Superman? Well, Superman does show up to take on his most dangerous foe, but Lex is prepared for the Man of Steel and uses a Kryptonite claw on the Lexor 7, Lex's vehicle in the Superpowers line, to incapacitate Superman. With only 4 villains in the first wave, each mini-comic book uses multiple superheroes to take on each villain, so in the Lex Luthor mini-comic, Wonder Woman probably does more to stop Lex Luthor than Superman does, and Aquaman helps a little bit too. Although this was one of the earliest Lex Luthor action figures, it wasn't the first. Mego had already released a 12-inch and a 3 3/4-inch figure back in the 70s, before the Superpowers line was even an idea. Both of the Mego figures were based on his previous outfit, which, as I mentioned before, was the Lex Luthor that I was more familiar with from the cartoons and I'd seen in the comics. The warsuit Lex Luthor from the Superpowers line does look cool though. As with all the Superpowers figures, Lex had an action gimmick. When you squeeze his legs together, his arms flail around. This was called his Power Action Nuclear Punch. As an added bonus, the guys at Kenner included a small detail that I didn't even know about until relatively recently. There's a button on Lex's back. When his armor is on, the button is automatically pressed down, but when you take the armor off, the button is released. The button makes his Power Action Nuclear Punch work stronger. So basically, when Lex isn't wearing his suit of armor, his arms don't move as much when you squeeze his legs. This detail is mentioned on the back of some of the later packages, but I'd honestly never noticed it before, even though I have several different versions of his card back. The warsuit has been around long enough at this point that there have been quite a few different versions and stories around the suit. It's probably no surprise that some of the stories borrow from Marvel's Iron Man character. After all, he was the original rich guy in an armored suit in the comic books. In some of the stories, Lex has to wear the suit's chest plate constantly to fight against the cancer he got from all of the kryptonite he used against Superman. At another point, the suit could fit into a briefcase. Both of these ideas probably sound pretty familiar to fans of Iron Man. In the early 2000s, Darkseid gave Lex a warsuit made from apocalyptian armor, which has a more bulky look to it. When DC rebooted with the New 52, the history of the warsuit was rewritten again. In this version, the warsuit was a result of Lex acquiring some Kryptonian battle armor and reverse engineering it to create an even more powerful warsuit, which he could remote control. Over the years, the Superpowers line has become a favorite with many toy collectors and comic book fans. The figures are some of my favorite versions of many of the great DC characters in the line, and I wish that I'd completed my collection before the prices got so crazy. Did you ever have Kenner's Superpowers figures as a kid, or do you collect them now? If so, which one's your favorite? Did you ever have the Superpowers Lex Luthor figure? Let me know in the comments below. Also, please give this video a like and share it on social media. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe to my channel and hit that notifications bell so that you'll be notified when I post new videos. And one last thing, if you're a fan of toys, you should know about ToyLanta, the biggest toy show in the southeastern United States, held annually just north of Atlanta, Georgia. Visit ToyLanta.com for more information. As always, thanks for watching.